Alright, guys, welcome to this week's press conference special breakfast edition. This press conference is sponsored by Cinnamon Life, a classic cereal. Can't really go wrong with it. This week, got a tough matchup with Dr. Lowe. He's kind of had a tough season thus far. 1-2. Coming off a ship, not really going how I think he expected it to go. But he's still going to be a tough matchup nonetheless. Been making some kind of crazy trades out there. Had a big one with Jackson this week. He kind of gave up on Chase Brown. Got rid of Baker. Brought back some interesting pieces. Most notably, who I think's a one-hit wonder in Trey Tucker. We'll see if Trey Tucker ends up being anything. I don't have high expectations, but we'll see. This week had me thinking about the previous trade I had with Dr. Lowe. At the time, there were some big pieces that ended up not necessarily being what exactly we both thought they'd be, and interestingly enough, kind of one of the throw-ins of that trade might end up being, the biggest piece. It was Ladd McConkey and Trey Benson for Travis Etienne and Devontae Smith. And at the time, Ladd McConkey was the big piece. And we're seeing that in that, high-powered Chargers offense, Keenan Allen, he's kind of been the de facto one. I still think that Ladd's going to get his points, and I'm not overly worried. But right now, Dr. Lowe has him on his bench, interestingly enough. And, on my side, Etienne, been a good back. I think they're going to try to get closer to a two-back approach moving forward with Tootin. So he's an RB 2-3 maybe. And then Devontae Smith, good Eagles offense, they just haven't been passing the ball as much, which makes it interesting. So he's kind of, dropped as a wide receiver 3. But then Trey Benson, who kind of was a throw-in in the trade and then ended up actually getting dropped, he's now looking, maybe like the best piece of that trade after the injury of James Conner, and it's kind of tricky to predict backup RB success when the RB1 goes down, and in some years that RB, ends up looking really good. We think back to some of the CMC years. Jordan Mason looked decent. Chuba had some years kind of early on in his career as a backup where he got some points. But then, other times it doesn't exactly happen that way. I think back to some of the Raiders years. I feel like there's one year Josh Jacobs got hurt, and then the backup was, Zamir White or something like that, and everyone thought he was going to do really good, and he kind of did crappy. So we'll see, but I think right now Trey Benson certainly has the most upside. So we'll see moving forward. Just interesting things, and hindsight's 2020. Looking forward to this week. Hopeful that CJ Stroud can pick things up. Obviously, we've got some depth at running back. We'll see who ends up starting. Wideouts, Pickens is kind of on the up and up with CD going down for a couple weeks. JSN has some crazy usage rate that hasn't been seen in years. So hopefully they can lock in some points. Tyler Warren's had down kind of 2 weeks. He's still pretty involved in that Colts offense. So we'll see. We'll take it 1 week at a time here. Hopefully, I come out 3-1 by this time next week. On the road to hopefully a deep playoff run this year. We'll go from there.